Good morning, my YouTube viewers. It's Crystal here. I wanted to make another video on my playlist, The Easy Way, Learn R the Easy Way. And what we're going to talk about in this video is functions and control flow in R. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to create a function in R. So we're going to create a function that calculates the mean of a list of numbers or a vector of numbers. So you define the function by saying my mean becomes function x, and then brackets, sum x divided by length x, brackets, or parentheses really, and then you test the function. So your numbers is a vector of C brackets 10, 20, 30, 40, and then you plug the function in there. So my mean brackets numbers, and then so the mean of the list of numbers 10, 20, 30, 40 is 25. And then so you can put in any vector of numbers that you like, and it will give you the mean, because the mean is the sum of x, sum of the vector, divided by the length of the vector. And the length of the vector is the number of elements in the vector. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about a conditional statement. And a conditional statement is another thing that you need to know how to do in order to program in R. And so I had the conditional statement is an if-else statement. So we're going to have scores becomes a vector of 77, 65, 92, 88, and 54. And I made sure that I didn't put the numbers in order. If you look on the screen, the first set of scores was in reverse orders. So it gave you A, B, C, D, F. But I wanted to show that the numbers don't have to be in order. They don't have to be sorted. So we're going to assign grades using a nested if-else statement. So grades become if-else brackets scores is greater than or equal to 90 is A, comma, if-else scores is greater than or equal to 80, comma, B, comma, if-else scores is greater than or equal to 70, comma, C, comma, if-else scores is greater than or equal to 60, comma, D, comma, F is your else. And then so when we run grades, then it's going to be C, D, A, B, F. And I intentionally did that where it wasn't in order so you can see how the if-else statement works. So the next thing we're going to talk about is a for loop. So a for loop, and then what a for loop does is that iterates through a sequence of events, the number of events that you assign it. And so in order to do this for loop, then what we're going to do is we're going to create a Fibonacci sequence, and n becomes 10, and we're going to create a vector to store the sequence. Fib becomes numeric n, so numeric lets you know that it is a numeric variable, and then we set the first two values is fib1 becomes 0 and fib2 becomes 1. And we're going to use a for loop to generate the rest. So 4 brackets I in 3 colon n, so that's 3 to n, curly brackets, fib I becomes fib I minus 1 plus fib I minus 2. And then you're going to iterate that until n equals, and until you've reached 10. because n is your 10. And then so our Fibonacci sequence, when we run that for the value of 10, you've got 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34. So that's just a for loop that shows you how to do the Fibonacci sequence. But you could have any for loop that you want, but I just wanted to show you how to do a for loop. And then in addition to the for loop, you have a while loop. And a while loop is good when you don't know how many iterations you need. So a while loop will work as long as until a condition changes. So we're going to go through a while loop. So we're going to start with the counter if x becomes a 1. So we're going to run the while loop while x is less than or equal to 5. While brackets x is less than or equal to 5, curly brackets, print, brackets, paste, brackets, current value of x, comma, x. And then we're going to update x so the loop eventually stops. So x becomes x plus 1. So when we run this loop, we're going to do it while x is less than or equal to 5. You've got 5 values of x, being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because you can see at the end of the while loop it says x becomes x plus 1. The next function that we have is something that is peculiar to R. And what you have that is peculiar to R is the apply function. And there are other types of apply functions as well. And if you want to, once you get the hang of the apply function, if you want to explore the other types of apply functions, you can look up apply in the R documentation, and that will give you the other types of apply. So apply function allows you to iterate through a vector or a matrix without having to use a for loop or a while loop. And this is something that is peculiar to R. So M becomes matrix. That means you're creating a matrix. Brackets 1 colon 9. That's 1 to 9. And the number of rows equals 3. And then we print M. And so you can see we've created our matrix being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then so what we're going to do is we're going to calculate the means of the columns. So M2 becomes apply brackets M, comma, 2, comma, mean. And then you set the margin to 2 to apply for columns, and you get M2. And so that's going to give you 258. That's the mean of the columns. And then now the next one we're going to do is we're going to do the sums of the rows. So M1 becomes apply brackets M, comma, 1, comma, sum. And then so you set the margin to 1 to apply to rows. And then so the sum of the 3 rows is 12, 15, and 18. So we've covered some important ways that you can program in R by using how to create a function, how to use the if-else function, how to use a for loop, how to use a while loop, and how to use the apply. And so what the apply does is the apply enables you to iterate through a vector or a matrix without having to actually use a loop. So that concludes this video. The next video is going to be on statistical analysis. So I hope that you decide to watch the next video as well.